What is going on, everyone, and welcome to my video where I rank all of M. Night Shyamalan's twist endings on a tier list. And this is a tier list that we have right here. Before I go any further, there will be spoilers for every single movie that I discuss here. So if we get to a film that you haven't seen, skip over it, mute, whatever, or if you don't care about spoilers, you can keep watching, I guess. But I just want to make that very clear because I will be spoiling every single Shyamalan film here, including his newest film, Trap. So be warned. But yeah, I'll make it very clear when I'm about to discuss a film that I haven't yet. So the categories here are as follows. What a twist, makes the movie serviceable, breaks the movie, not applicable. So what a twist is obviously just the best of the best, just brilliant twists that are just wonderful. Makes the movie is not quite as good as What a Twist, but it really does make you rethink the film in a different way, even if it's not, this mind-boggling revelation. Serviceable is films with the twists that don't really hinder the film too much, but don't really boost it above anything than what it was. Breaks the movie, I use these words very loosely because this is just like twists that aren't very good. Sometimes it will be twists that do legitimately break the film for me, but a lot of the times the ones that I'm going to put in here are films with twists that are already bad in general, so it doesn't really break the film. It's just, this is where I'm going to put his lesser efforts for the twists. So take those three words with a grain of salt. And then not applicable is going to be for the very rare films of his that do not have twist endings. So let's get into it. As I said, spoilers. I have it chronologically. And actually, no, before I get into it, let me remember to say this. I'm going to put the link to this tier list in the description. So if you want to make your own, then go ahead, tag me on social media, on Twitter or whatever, and I'll repost it and we can share and discuss our different interpretations and rankings civilly. So I'm very excited to do that. So hopefully you'll be able to join me if you've seen all of his films, or even just a few of them, just whatever, just check out the link. Anyway, first film here, chronological order, release date, is The Sixth Sense, and this is a no-brainer. It's going straight up into What a Twist. I really, really love The Sixth Sense. It's one of my favorite films ever, and while I wasn't lucky enough to experience this film the way it was intended to, I did know the twist that Bruce Willis's character of Malcolm Crowe was a ghost the entire time. He did die from his gunshot wounds in the beginning. It still didn't stop the fact that this was a magnificent film, and upon further rewatches, I was able to pick out bits and pieces and details that he was a ghost. Just his wife ignoring him in ways that are just kind of bizarre, that don't really make a hell of a lot of sense. Different things that just happen even when he's talking to Haley Joel Osment's Cole in the living room, and Toni Collette as Lynn doesn't acknowledge Malcolm at all. It's just a really, really great twist that reframes the entire film. It's a brilliant film already. It didn't need this twist whatsoever, but it only boosts it for me. So The Sixth Sense is one of the greatest films of all time. I absolutely love that film. Next up, we have Unbreakable. And this is another one that's going straight up into What a Twist. This is my favorite Shyamalan film. I guess spoilers for my video that I'm going to do in the next couple of days where I rank all of his films from worst to best. But Unbreakable is my favorite film of his. And the just slow building suspense that just comes through this film as he starts to question Elijah Price and who he is and what exactly is going on here. Why was Bruce Willis's character why was he able to survive the train crash and everything with just barely a scratch? It just keeps going and going and going until you realize that it's a superhero story in hiding. And it's magnificent. He's got the raincoat as basically like his cape. And the film is just brilliant until you realize, well, not until you realize, because it's still brilliant, with the twist, is brilliant, that Elijah Price believes himself to be the arch-villain in this superhero story, this very grounded superhero story. He was the one that derailed the train. He was the one that caused a bunch of horrible accidents like a plane crash, or it might have been maybe even blowing up a plane, all these horrific things. He did all of this to try and find who his counterpart was in Bruce Willis. So it's a brilliant twist that really reframes the film. It makes you realize who Elijah Price is. You're like, he is the Green Goblin to Spider-Man, basically, in this kind of context. It's just a brilliant take on a superhero film, and I absolutely love it. So, Unbreakable, what a twist. Brilliant. Next up, I'm probably going to surprise a lot of people here, because we have Signs, and I'm actually going to put Signs in Makes the Movie. Now, hear me out here. I'm not going to consider that aliens are allergic to water. I don't consider that to be the twist of the film. I just consider that to be just a moment of realization that this is their one weakness. That's just what that is to me. The twist of the film for me is that the entire film is a test of faith, is a test of Graham Hess's faith. As a reverend, as a man of faith, he is put through the ringer by God, where he loses his wife, and eventually this whole alien attack happens where they all just descend upon Earth. And he has to basically believe that he can survive. It is all part of God's greater plan. It's a test of faith. The entire film works where they come down, they wreak havoc on his life, and he realizes that his wife's death she had a premonition of this attack, and he has to make sure to believe. I think it's really, really clever the way the film is framed as just one big test of faith. I haven't seen the movie in a little while, so I'm a little bit hazy on some of the actual plot revelations and events that specifically have religious symbolism, but I really, really love Signs. I think it's a brilliant film. And I feel like the whole aliens being allergic to water, that's kind of the thing. That's his reward for being put through this test of faith and being able to remain faithful. He lost his faith, and then he regained it when he needed it most. I think it's a fantastic film. I love Signs. Next up, we have The Village, one of his more underrated efforts in my opinion. I think that The Village is a wonderful film. And again, I'm putting this twist in Makes the Movie. Now, is it far-fetched? Yes. Is it extremely fucking far-fetched? Yes. Okay, I get why people might not like this. But I absolutely love The Village. I love what it means. I love how it completely reframes the film. It goes from a kind of horror romance hybrid into a film about fear of progression, the kind of rose-colored glasses of the past, how everything was better back then, and the extreme lengths that these people take to preserve the best parts of life, basically. They don't want to progress forward in the world. They just want to be able to live happily in this village with absolutely no stress whatsoever. But the truth is that doesn't work. People still get illnesses and stuff like that. People are still sad. People still are born with defects and problems. It's just basically one big desperate attempt to preserve the past. And it's, as I said, it's a film about fear of progression, a film about fear of moving on. And it really does reframe the film. The reason I'm not putting this in What a Twist is because A, it is far-fetched, and B, Adrian Brody being revealed to be the monster. I'm like, okay, like that monster scene was really, really scary actually when they come into the village at night, about halfway through the film. But then you realize it's just Adrian Brody running around. It's a little underwhelming, but other than that, I love The Village. I think it's a terrific film, and as I said, if you can suspend your disbelief, then you'll really enjoy it. But I can understand if you can't. Next up, we have Lady in the Water. So we have his first 4 films down, which I love each one of those. I think each 4 of them are brilliant. Now it's time to go down a little bit. Lady in the Water, the twist breaks the movie for me. it just has. I'm one of the rare people that actually enjoys Lady in the Water. I think that Paul Giamatti gives a great performance here, and I like the uniqueness of it. I like the idea that it's like a bedtime story kind of horror film. But the way this thing wraps up, where it's like they realize they're all of the tenants in the apartment building are part of this fairy tale story that's happening in real life, but at the very last moment, they realize that they've all cast themselves in the wrong role of this fairy tale, so they have to quickly swap, and then they do swap, and then the movie ends, she gets carried away, whatever. It's completely, it's not like it's a great film at all. It doesn't, as I said, it doesn't break the movie for me, but it's not a good twist. It does nothing. It just prolongs the film even more. And by this time in the film, I just completely mentally checked out. And as I said, I like this film. Like, I do enjoy it, but it goes on for way too long, and I completely checked out. So, yeah, Lady in the Water breaks the movie. Next up, we have The Happening. My God, The Happening. Look, again, I gotta put it in breaks the movie because there is just... The twist of The Happening is that the fucking trees are murdering people. As much as I love The Happening for how horrific it is and just how terrible of a film it is in every way, shape, or form, I will never forget watching it for the first time and being like, there's that weird hot dog guy, and he's like, I think it's the plants. They're capable of unleashing toxins into the world. And I'm just like, are you serious? And then they go on a little more, and then eventually they realize that the hot dog man was right. It is the plants killing them. And the trees. I have no words for this film. It is insane. Admittedly, as I said, I love it, but my God, what a fucking stupid twist. And you can put some environmental themes or whatever you want to justify it, but Jesus Christ. The plants are killing people. Fuck me. Next up, Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. When I watched this, I fell asleep halfway through. I was so bored. And I couldn't even finish it. I was like, nah, fuck this. I looked up like a little plot synopsis and I was just like, yep, no, whatever. And I can't even remember. I watched it maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. So I'm putting it in not applicable because I don't think there's a twist. I'm almost 100% sure that there isn't any twist at all. So I'm going to put that in not applicable, but I'm not willing to go back and find out. Fuck that movie. Now, next up, this is one that I just decided to throw in here. It's not a film directed by M. Night Shyamalan, but he did write it, and that is Devil. Now, this was probably maybe the last... No, it wasn't. Never mind, because I saw it before I watched Knock at the Cabin and Trap, but when I was doing my M. Night Shyamalan binge through a few years back, this was the last one that I watched because I didn't even realise that he wrote it. But I decided to include it here because it is a very Shyamalan-feeling film. And I'm going to put this one in serviceable. This twist is fine. It's the fact that the old lady is the devil. She was supposedly dead. You have all these people trapped in this elevator. And all of them seem to have a reason, something bad that they've done in the past. And every once in a while the lights flicker on and off. And all of a sudden, when the lights flick back on, one of them's dead. And the old lady in Devil in the elevator is one of the first ones to go out. But then you have this admittedly cool shot. Like when she eventually stands up and her eyes are all blacked out, and you realise that she is the devil in disguise. I really like the reveal of this. It's just that it's just like, so what? It could have been just about any of them. Like, it doesn't really have much of an impact on the story overall. It's just like, whatever. But I enjoy Devil, actually. I think it's a pretty fun ride. It's pretty silly, but like, yeah, the twist is good. It's just kind of inconsequential. It's just nothing really doesn't make the movie, doesn't change the way you think it. If you're going to rewatch it, you're not going to pick up on a bunch of little details. It's just, it is what it is. See, I like Devil quite a bit. Far out. Next up is After Earth. Jesus Christ. This one I didn't fall asleep watching, but I got very, very close. Yeah, not applicable. It's not really, there's no twist. There's a character arc that eventually he learns to ghost. He's like, he doesn't feel fear. That's not a twist. That's just the arc of Jaden Smith's character. Yeah, terrible film. Terrible, terrible film. Next up, we have The Visit. And I like The Visit quite a bit, actually. But the twist, I'm going to put it in serviceable, I think. Because it's not the kind of twist that really reframes the film. It's a really solid twist. Like, the actual reveal when they're on the Skype call and the kids show them the photo of the grandparents and the mum's like, who the fuck's that? They aren't your grandparents. It's a really good moment. And it's a film that I enjoy quite a bit. I think it's quite fun. But, again, the twist, it is just kind of, it is what it is. That the grandparents aren't really the grandparents. They killed the actual grandparents and their bodies are in the basement and they escaped from the mental asylum where the actual real grandparents worked. It's, it is what it is. It's a cool twist. And the fact is, being a found footage, I kind of forgot that it was Shyamalan when watching it. So when there was a twist, I was actually more shocked than I expected to be because the film was very different for a Shyamalan film, so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Next up, we have Split. I'm going to say that this is his last great film because I really, really enjoyed Split. With that being said, the twist is just serviceable. It's kind of a stupid twist, if I'm really being perfectly honest. You have the revelation that this film exists within the universe of Unbreakable. And while if you were one of the people that watched Unbreakable when it came out, or have always been a big fan of Unbreakable, and then saw Split, and then heard the Unbreakable theme song come in, and then saw Bruce Willis sitting there, I'm sure that would have been a cool moment. Watching it now, it's just kind of like, it's kind of just known that Unbreakable, Split, and Glass are the M. Night Shyamalan's superhero trilogy, his long gestating trilogy. So it doesn't have any weight to it now. It doesn't break the film at all or anything like that, but watching this for the first time, I was just like, yeah, I knew that. Next, we have Glass. And this is a tough one because while I actually like the twisting concept, the repercussions that it has on the plot breaks the film for me. This is one that I would say does break the film. I was really, really enjoying this film for the first 20 minutes. Then the solid hour in the middle, I was kind of on the fence about it. But then they tease this big final showdown. But then it's just, they go out into the car park and you learn that this entire hospital that David Dunn, Elijah Price, and James McAvoy's character, I can't remember what his character's name is. He's got 10 different personalities. He's got 10 different names. Let's just say Patricia. So you got David Dunn, Elijah Price, and Patricia, for lack of a better name, all at this hospital. And you realise that the people at the hospital knew the entire time that they are actually superheroes and supervillains. They actually do have superpowers. When the entire time the film you think that they're just trying to beat the idea out of their head, and then just make them think that they're insane and that they need to be reformed. No, they are well aware that they have superpowers, but the entire place, in order to keep the world from going into absolute chaos, they take anyone with superpowers and try to rid them of their superpowers. If they can't do that, they kill them. So that is an interesting twisting concept. What if there actually was superheroes and supervillains out there in the real world that were being suppressed by the government? I find that interesting in concept. I really like that. And it subverts expectations in a way that makes it a distinct superhero story. It's a different trilogy. It's a different superhero kind of story. The problem is that you're building up to this, and you're building up to the great climax, and then it's just David Dunn gets drowned in the puddle. Patricia, James McAvoy, gets shot, and Elijah Price has his bones broken. And it's just like, it's really anticlimactic. And it's just really, really disappointing. Maybe it'll work for me on a rewatch, but it's just like, it just left me with a bad taste in my mouth. I wish that they had have found a better way to finish it off. Even though I do very, very much appreciate how much of a different story it is, it just doesn't work for me. Next up, we have Old. I'm going to go serviceable for this one, because it's the kind of twist that you're probably going to kind of guess halfway through what is actually going on. But the actual idea of it, I really like. I like the idea. It feels plausible to me. If they found a place, if, like, you know, the evil government found a place that makes you age rapidly, then of course that they would try and use that to their advantage, and they would sacrifice a few innocent people and try to see what the long-term effects of their medicine, of this kind of new medicine that they're making are. They're trying to see what will happen in the long term. Will it work in the long term? How will it? What will the side effects be? So they're basically testing people. They're aging them rapidly to try and see what the long term effects of these new medications are. And I think that would happen. I truly do believe that if there was somewhere a beach that makes you old in real life, then it definitely would be used to the advantage of some people, even if it means sacrificing some people. So I like the twist in Old. I don't think it's a very good film, but I really like the way it wraps up. Well, until, you know, they realise that there's the secret coral that actually doesn't make you old. That was stupid. But the concept is good. Knock at the Cabin. This one, I'm putting it in not applicable. So I don't think that when the guy at the end, he explains to his husband that he thinks that these four strangers are the four horsemen of the apocalypse. That's more of a character realization. You kind of knew from the concept that they are the four horsemen of the apocalypse, so I don't consider that to be a twist. That was just the characters kind of explaining the idea in their head now that they had a moment, a kind of a quiet moment. Everyone that watches this film, I think, will go into it thinking, oh yeah, four people on the poster, it's the apocalypse, they have to make a sacrifice, it's the four horsemen of the apocalypse. That's kind of just what it is. So I don't consider that to be a twist, so I'm leaving it not applicable. And finally, we have Trap. Oh boy, Trap. I had such a great time with this film. It was absolutely stupid. And this is another one where I'm kind of hesitant to put it actually as a twist, but I think I'm going to. I'm going to put the twist as serviceable, because it's the kind of twist where it really, in hindsight, does not affect the movie in one bit. It doesn't have a positive effect on it, but it doesn't have a negative effect on it. And I know I already said spoilers earlier, but I'm going to discuss the ending of Trap here now, so big spoiler alert. The twist of this film is that his wife, the butcher's wife, Josh Hartnett's wife, knew that he was the butcher and was the one that tipped the feds off to say that he would be at the Lady Raven concert. So that's not necessarily a mystery that's explored through the film. It's just kind of like, you kind of just go along with it. You're like, okay, they have an idea that he's going to be that the butcher's going to be at the concert, whatever. And then you realise that his wife actually knew. So you're just like, oh, okay, that's how the feds knew. It is what it is. It's fine. It doesn't affect the movie in any way, positive or negative. It's fine. It's a fine ending. It's you know, it's a fine twist, I guess. It's just, Jesus Christ, that movie was bonkers. Anyway, half an hour later, I am done. This is my final tier list right here. Yeah, please make your own, because I would love to see your guys' thoughts, because Shyamalan is such a divisive filmmaker that different twists and different people, it's going to completely depend on who you are. Like, some people wouldn't even consider the ending of Trapped to be a twist. And as I said, I kind of debated in my head whether it is or not, but I decided that it is. But here it is. So thanks for watching. If you stuck around to the end, please let me know and I'll repost it on Twitter. And if you do decide to make your own tier list, check the description to get the link. And I'll see you all later. Bye.